Picture this. A decorated Russian general, medals gleaming, standing before 500 soldiers near the Arctic Circle. Temperature? -38 degrees Celsius. What's he doing? Singing a Filipino song in broken Tagalog, tears streaming down his face. December 15th, 2023. This wasn't therapy or a publicity stunt. It was proof that a culture born under tropical sun had melted through the permafrost of Russian reserve. This is the story of how the Philippines conquered Russia without firing a single shot, only singing a single song. His name was Alexei Volkov. At 41, he was the kind of Russian you'd see in infrastructure documentaries. Thick-shouldered, thin-smiled, comfortable with silence. He worked for a petroleum company in Novosibirsk, where winter isn't a season. It's a state of mind. He lived in a gray apartment with gray neighbors who passed without speaking. That was normal. In Russia, minding your business wasn't rude. It was respect. Singing? Out loud? In front of people? Never. That was for Americans. For drunk people. For people with something to prove. February 2019, his company won a contract in the Philippines. You're going to Manila for 18 months. Alexei nodded. He didn't know where Manila was. The heat hit him like a wall. Everything in the Philippines sang. Workers hummed while mixing cement. The cook belted ballads while frying fish. Even the security guard whistled symphonies to the moon. 3 weeks in, his site manager Carlo invited him to karaoke night. Reports can wait. Your soul cannot. The karaoke bar was called Tahanan, home. A grandmother sang like she was confessing to a crime. 2 women harmonized so beautifully the entire room went silent, then erupted in applause. Nobody was good. Everybody was great. Carlo nudged him. Your turn. I don't sing. Everybody sings. Not in Russia. Carlo studied him. Maybe that's why Russians always look so sad. Someone thrust a microphone into his hand. He expected laughter. He got encouragement. When he finished, a stranger hugged him. An old man shook his hand like he'd saved his life. Walking back that night, Alexei realized something disturbing. He couldn't remember the last time he'd felt this light. Alexei started going every Friday. He learned Anak, a Tagalog song about a parent's love. He couldn't pronounce half the words, but when he sang the chorus, Filipinos closed their eyes and swayed. An elderly woman approached afterward, tears streaming. You understand? He didn't. But he felt something, a crack in the ice he'd carried since childhood. March 2020. The pandemic hit. The night before his emergency flight home, Carlo met him with a gift wrapped in newspaper. Inside, the karaoke machine from Tahanan, old, battered, screen cracked. If you don't bring our songs to Russia, who will? Back in Novosibirsk, lockdown was silent. His daughter Katya was furious at the universe. His wife Irina barely spoke. The silence hummed. One night, Alexei dragged out the karaoke machine. Katya rolled her eyes. Papa, what is that? He pressed play on Anak. As music filled their living room, something shifted. By the second verse, Katya was reading along. By the chorus, Irina was humming. By the end, all 3 were crying. Why are we crying? Katya whispered. I don't know. But the Filipinos taught me that sometimes crying while singing is the only honest thing you can do. Word spreads fast through Russian apartment walls. Their neighbor Boris knocked. Can I join? By month's end, 10 neighbors crammed into their living room every Saturday. When they sang Anak, a postal worker sobbed openly. A mechanic said, I need to call my mother. A teenager admitted, I didn't know music could feel like this. Katya filmed one session. Shaky, poorly lit, people singing off-key, laughing, crying. She posted it. My papa brought Filipino karaoke to Siberia, and now we can't stop singing. 72 hours. 2 million views. The comments weren't mocking. They were hungry. Where can I buy this machine? What is this song and why am I sobbing? I've been depressed for 3 years. This is the first time I've smiled. It started small. A bar in Yekaterinburg added Filipino songs. Then another. Then hundreds. Entrepreneurs imported karaoke machines from Manila. A bar in Vladivostok painted palm trees on walls and served adobo with borscht. Opening night, 300 people. By 2 a.m., everyone was crying into their beer. It's not about the Philippines, the owner explained. It's about permission. Permission to feel things in public. In Yakutsk, the coldest city on earth, teacher Svetlana Petrova was struggling. 3 hours of sunlight in winter. Suicide rates spiking. Students listless, depressed. She played a Filipino song for her class. The lyrics translated, "Keep going, even when it's hard. Keep going." A girl named Anya said, "We should sing this every day." They did. By December, the darkest, deadliest month, Anya's class had the highest attendance rate in school history. When we sing that song, I remember tomorrow exists. December 15th, 2023. Red Square, the Harmony Festival. A choir of 1,000 people, 500 Russian, 500 Filipino, singing Anak in both languages. General Mikhail Sokolov, decorated military commander, stood at the microphone. He'd served in Chechnya, Afghanistan, Syria. His voice cracked. Tears poured. He didn't stop. 500 soldiers joined in. Then the audience. Then all of Moscow. When it ended, nobody clapped. They just stood there, breathing together. A Filipino nurse named Maria turned to her Russian friend. "Now you understand. This is how we survive." Psychologists studied the Manila effect, measurable decreases in depression among karaoke participants. Dr. Olga Mikhailova's research showed that singing Tagalog songs activated emotional centers many Russians had shut down. We survive by feeling less. But the Filipinos, they survive by feeling more. And our people are starving for that. Alexei received a letter from an orphanage in Kazan. "We have 47 children. Most never knew their parents. They don't cry anymore. We tried therapy, toys, nothing worked. Then we tried Filipino karaoke. A boy named Dmitri, who hasn't spoken in 2 years, sang the chorus. Then he cried. Then he hugged me. You gave our children permission to feel again." Alexei flew there. The children performed for him, 47 small voices singing in imperfect Tagalog. Dmitri walked up and whispered, "Is the Philippines a real place?" "Yes. I want to go someday. I want to thank them for teaching us that sad people are allowed to sing." April 2024. Alexei returned to Manila. Tahanan was exactly the same. Carlo embraced him like a brother. "You kept your promise. You saved us," Alexei said. "You saved an entire country." Carlo shook his head. "You were always capable of joy. You just needed permission to find it." Back in Russia, karaoke became ritual. Churches held hymns and harmony nights. Hospitals used it for PTSD therapy. Prisons introduced it as rehabilitation. Inmates 40% less likely to reoffend. The military adopted it. One soldier wrote home, "When you've seen what I've seen, you forget what it means to be human. But when I sing, I remember I have a mother." The Filipinos taught us that warriors need to cry too. Something else remarkable happened. Filipinos in Russia, nannies, nurses, teachers, had existed in the margins, invisible. Now Russians stopped them on the street. "Are you Filipino? Can you teach me to sing like you?" One nurse named Luz, "For 12 years, I was invisible. Now they see me. They see us." A journalist asked Alexei, "What is it about Filipino karaoke that changed Russia?" "The Filipinos don't sing to perform. They sing to connect. In Russia, we were taught that showing emotion is weakness. But the Filipinos live in a country hit by typhoons, poverty, everything that should make them cynical. And yet they sing. In defiance, they taught us that joy isn't the absence of pain. It's the refusal to let pain have the last word. When a Russian sings and cries, he's crying because he finally has permission to feel. And feeling, really feeling, is the most revolutionary act we can do." That quote went viral. Feeling is revolutionary. This isn't a story about Russia discovering the Philippines. It's about pain recognizing itself in another's joy. The Filipinos didn't save Russia. They showed Russia it had permission to save itself. For decades, Russian culture was built on endurance. But somewhere along the way, endurance became the only emotion allowed. The Filipinos reminded Russians that strength isn't the absence of tears. It's the courage to cry and still keep singing. Today, walk through any Russian town and you'll hear Tagalog in Russian homes, bars, hearts. The Philippines gave Russia a gift it didn't know it needed: the freedom to be joyfully, messily, beautifully human. Two cultures that should have been strangers became family. All because of a microphone, a melody, and the universal language between heartbreak and hope. So here's my question. When was the last time you sang? Not performed, sang. Let your voice crack, your tears fall, your guard drop. The Filipinos know something the rest of us are still learning. Music isn't about talent. It's about truth. Joy isn't frivolous. It's survival. Singing isn't escape. It's resistance. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember it's okay to feel. And if you're Filipino, your songs are traveling farther than you imagined. They're warming people in places you'll never see. They're saving lives you'll never meet. Keep singing. The world is listening. And Russia is finally singing back.